"I've never been kissed," she admitted. The Apache leaned in and said, "Let's start slow." The town of Red Rock sat under the endless sky of the western frontier. Dust rose from the streets with every step of a horse, and the wooden boards of the buildings creaked under the weight of long years. It was the kind of town where everyone knew each other, or thought they did, and newcomers were always noticed. Clara pulled her wide-brimmed hat lower against the harsh afternoon sun. She had arrived only that morning, a small bundle of nerves tucked in her chest. Her aunt's general store was the reason she had come, and she hoped she could be helpful. Yet, as she walked down the main street, she felt very much out of place. The cowboys tipping their hats as they passed, the blacksmith pounding at the forge, and the chatter of men swapping tales, all of it made her cheeks warm. She was not used to such a bustling, rough-edged life. Clara paused at the corner, adjusting the strap of her satchel. That was when she noticed him. A man stood near the river that ran alongside the town. His posture was calm, almost like he belonged more to the earth than the wooden buildings. His skin was sun-kissed, his hair dark and long, braided neatly behind his head. He watched the water, not a single sound betraying the movements of the animals around him. There was a quiet strength about him, a sense of peace that seemed to contrast with the clatter of the town.
Noticed Clara at the same moment, his dark eyes meeting hers.
She felt a flutter of nerves. Something about him was different. He nodded slightly, a polite and gentle greeting, and Clara nodded back before hurrying toward her aunt's store. The store smelled of dried herbs, leather, and the faint sweetness of sugar. Clara's aunt, a round, warm woman with a laugh that could fill a room, greeted her with open arms. "Clara."
"You made it."
"Thank the heavens," she said, patting her niece's shoulder. "We have so much to do, the shelves need restocking, and you can start with the grain bags." Clara nodded, taking the first steps inside her new role. She worked quickly, trying not to let her mind wander back to the man by the river, but she couldn't help it. There was something about him, a calm, steady presence, that drew her curiosity. Later that afternoon, as the sun dipped toward the horizon, a sudden commotion drew Clara outside. A horse, startled by a loose dog, bolted down the street. People shouted, jumping aside to avoid the animal, but Clara froze. The horse was coming straight toward the general store. Before she could move, the man from the river appeared, his movements quick but controlled. He stepped into the street, and with a skillful twist of rope, he guided the horse to a stop. The animal shook its mane and snorted, but it no longer posed a danger. Clara's heart pounded as she walked toward him, her voice small. "Thank you. I don't know what I would have done." The man's lips curved into a gentle smile. "No harm done. The town is lively, and sometimes things get out of hand." "Are you new here?" Clara nodded. "I'm Clara. I just arrived today. My aunt owns the store." She glanced at him, suddenly nervous. I've never been around so many people like this before." He chuckled softly, the sound warm and inviting. "I can see that. My name is Tay. I help where I can, mostly outside of town. But I keep an eye on things. It's always better when everyone looks out for each other." Clara smiled faintly, feeling a spark of trust. She fidgeted with her hands, then, almost without thinking, admitted, "I've never been kissed?" Taya blinked, surprised for only a moment. Then his expression softened. "That's all right. There's no rush. Life moves fast enough without hurrying things that matter." Clara's cheeks flushed a deeper red. She looked down at the dust at her boots, feeling a strange mix of embarrassment and relief. It was the first time she had shared something so personal with a stranger, yet she felt no fear from him. "Only patience and warmth. Would you like some help with the store?" Tay asked gently. "I can carry some of the heavier grain sacks." Clara hesitated. She had always been independent, but the offer was kind. Yes, thank you," she said. Together they moved the sacks into the back room, working side by side. The rhythm was easy, and Clara found herself laughing at the way Taye made even the mundane task of stacking grain bags feel lighter. He had a quiet humor, the kind that did not demand attention but made those around him feel at ease. As they worked, Clara felt her nerves settle. She glanced at Tay from the corner of her eye. He was patient, never rushing her, always allowing her to take the lead when she wanted. She realized that for the first time that day she was not anxious or out of place. She was simply present. After the work was done, Taye walked Clara to the edge of the store. The sun was sinking behind the mountains, painting the sky in orange and pink streaks. The town was quieter now, with fewer people in the streets. The air smelled of dry grass and the river that ran nearby. "You handled that well today," Taye said. "Not everyone would have stayed calm when the horse ran through." Clara smiled shyly. "I tried." "I didn't want anything to get broken." "You did more than try," Taye said, his voice calm. "You acted with care. That matters." For a moment they stood in silence, listening to the soft sounds of the town. Clara felt a strange comfort in his presence. It was as if the world had slowed down just for them. Finally, Taye tipped his head slightly. "I should be going. There's work outside of town I need to attend to, but I'll be around. If you need help, don't hesitate to ask." Clara nodded, wishing she could say more. "Thank you, Taye, for everything today." He smiled and turned toward the river, moving with the same calm, steady grace she had noticed that morning. She watched him disappear into the distance, feeling a mixture of curiosity and anticipation. As she returned to the store, her mind replayed the events of the day. She had survived her first day in Red Rock, met someone extraordinary, and shared something personal she had never told anyone. For the first time in a long while, Clara felt hope, a small, gentle spark that maybe, just maybe, she could belong here. That night, as Clara lay in bed under the soft glow of an oil lamp, she thought about Taye. She remembered the gentle way he had guided the horse, the quiet patience with which he had helped her, and the calm reassurance in his voice, and she thought about the simple words he had spoken. No rush. Life moves fast enough without hurrying things that matter. Clara smiled to herself. Life in Red Rock would be different. Exciting. Scary, perhaps. But with people like Taye around, she felt she could face it. Slowly, carefully, she drifted off to sleep, a small, contented smile on her lips, dreaming of what the next day might bring. The next morning, the sun rose slowly over Red Rock, painting the town in shades of gold and amber. Clara felt a sense of anticipation as she stepped outside. The streets were quieter than yesterday, with only a few cowboys heading toward the fields and the blacksmith tending to his forge. She had already felt more at ease in the town, but something told her that today might bring another unexpected encounter. As she walked toward the river to fetch water, she spotted him again. Taye. He was standing by the riverbank, his hands resting lightly on the end of the fishing rod, watching the water with a calm, thoughtful expression. The soft ripples reflected the sunlight, and Clara paused to watch him. There was something peaceful about the way he moved, a rhythm that seemed in tune with nature itself. Taye noticed her almost immediately and offered a small smile. "Good morning, Clara," he said. His voice was as calm and warm as it had been the day before. "Good morning, Clara," replied, her nerves slightly fluttering. She tried to appear casual, but her heart had a mind of its own. "Would you like to help me with something?" Taye asked. "I am checking the river for signs of the herds upstream. It's easier with another pair of eyes." Clara nodded eagerly. "Yes, I would like that." She felt a thrill of excitement. The day promised adventure, and she would get to spend it with Taye. The two walked along the river talking as they went. Taye pointed out tracks in the dirt, explaining the difference between deer, coyote, and stray horses. Clara listened carefully, impressed by how much he seemed to know about the land. "You have to pay attention," Taye said softly. "Nature tells stories if you know how to read them. Every footprint, every broken twig, every bent blade of grass has a meaning." Clara bent down to examine a trail of small hoofprints. "These are deer?" she asked, trying to make out the patterns. "Correct," Taye said with a nod. "See how the prints are closer together here? That tells me the deer were moving quickly, probably startled by something." She smiled, feeling proud of herself. "I never thought I could learn something like this. It's amazing." Taye's expression softened. "You have curiosity. That is the first step to learning anything. Never lose that." As the sun climbed higher, they paused at a shaded spot near the riverbank. Taye pulled out a small bundle of food, some bread, cheese, and fresh fruit. "We should rest for a while," he suggested. "Even the strongest need to pause." Clara accepted the food gratefully. They sat on a flat rock, sharing the simple meal in companionable silence. The river gurgled nearby, and the distant mountains glowed faintly in the morning light. After eating, Taye stood and stretched. "I want to show you something," he said, extending his hand to Clara. She took it, feeling the warmth and strength of his grip. Her pulse quickened slightly, but she smiled, trusting him completely. They walked deeper into the trees along the river. Soon, Taye came to a small clearing where wildflowers grew in a riot of colors, yellow, purple, and white dancing in the breeze. Birds chirped overhead, and the scent of pine and wild grass filled the air. "This is one of my favorite places," Tay said softly. "I come here to think and to feel the world around me. It reminds me that life is more than work or worry. It's also beauty." Clara looked around in awe. It's perfect," she whispered. She knelt to touch a bright yellow bloom. "I've never seen anything like this." Tay smiled. "I thought you might like it." Nature has a way of calming the heart. For a while they simply sat together in silence, enjoying the quiet peace. Clara felt a warmth in her chest, a mix of happiness, comfort, and admiration for the man beside her. Tay seemed aware of her thoughts but said nothing, allowing her space while still offering presence and support. After a while, Tay pulled out a small bundle of cloth and tied it around a tree branch. "I want to teach you something new," he said. "This is called tracking the wind. You can learn to tell which way it's blowing, and it helps with hunting and moving quietly." Clara listened intently as he explained the method. She followed his instructions, holding the cloth in her hand and feeling the direction of the breeze. When she finally got it right, Tay's eyes lit up with approval. "You have a good sense for this," he said. "You are learning quickly." "I never thought I could do something like this. It feels exciting." Taya nodded. "Learning new things makes us stronger, braver, and more aware. You are capable of more than you know." As the day wore on, Tay took Clara to other spots along the river, places where the land told stories. He showed her how to read tracks, how to find safe water, and even how to start a small fire without a match. Clara listened and practiced, laughing at her mistakes and marveling at her small successes. By late afternoon, they returned to the town, tired but happy. The bond between them had grown quietly, strengthened by shared experiences and gentle trust. Clara realized that she was no longer just a newcomer to Red Rock. She was a part of the world around her, guided by someone patient and kind. That evening, Clara sat on the porch of her aunt's store, watching the sun dip behind the mountains. She thought about Tay and the day they had shared. Her heart felt light, and her worries from yesterday seemed far away. She realized that for the first time, she had someone she could look up to, not just in skill, but in kindness and understanding. A soft sound made her look up. Tay had returned, standing at the edge of the street. "Hello again," he said gently. "I thought I'd check on you before heading back to the outskirts." Clara stood, brushing the dust from her dress. I'm glad you came." Tay smiled. "So am I. Did you enjoy today?" "Yes," Clara admitted. "More than I can say. I learned so much, and it was fun. I've never had someone teach me things like that before." "Then we'll keep learning together," Taya said. "Life is full of lessons if we take the time to notice them." "I'd like that." She felt a warmth in her chest she couldn't quite name, a quiet excitement, a soft comfort, and a deep trust all at once. For a few moments they stood together in the fading light, enjoying the peaceful quiet of the town settling for the evening. Clara realized that she was beginning to look forward to each day, not just for the tasks she needed to accomplish, but for the chance to see Tay again. Finally, Tay tipped his head slightly. "I should go. There is still work to do outside of town. But tomorrow, if you like, I can show you how to track a herd of deer safely." Clara's eyes lit up. "I would like that very much." He smiled once more, then turned and walked away, his figure blending with the evening shadows. Clara watched until he was out of sight, feeling a gentle happiness she had never known before. As she returned to the store to help her aunt with the evening chores, Clara reflected on the day. She had not only learned new skills, but had also discovered the comfort of someone's presence, the ease of shared moments, and the joy of gentle guidance. That night, as she lay in bed, Clara thought about Tay's words. Life is full of lessons if we take the time to notice them. She realized that she wanted to notice every moment of this new life, every lesson, every small joy, and maybe, in time, the moments she shared with Tay would become the most precious lessons of all. With a soft sigh of contentment, Clara closed her eyes, dreaming not just of the wildflowers, the river, and the lessons of the land, but of the quiet, patient presence of Tay, and the possibility of a bond that could grow slowly, carefully, and truly. The morning sun spilled over Red Rock, lighting the town with a golden glow. Clara woke with a flutter of excitement. Today, Tay had promised to show her how to track a herd of deer safely. The idea both thrilled and nervous her. She had learned a lot from him already, but today promised adventure beyond anything she had imagined. Clara met Tay at the edge of town, near the riverbank. He was already there, checking the horizon, his posture calm and confident as always. "Good morning." he said with a gentle smile. Are you ready for today's lesson? Clara nodded, adjusting her satchel. Yes, I am. I want to do everything right. Good, Tay said. But remember, part of learning is being brave enough to make mistakes. Today we will practice patience and awareness more than anything else. They walked along the river, moving quietly through the tall grass. Tay taught Clara to step softly, watch the wind, and notice every small detail. Even the slightest crack of a twig or the shift of a shadow mattered. See that patch of grass bending over there? Tay whispered. That's a deer feeding nearby. Don't make sudden movements. We'll approach slowly, step by step. Clara's heart pounded in her chest, but she followed his instructions carefully. They crept forward, crouching when necessary, until a small group of deer appeared, nibbling peacefully. She had never seen animals so close in the wild. Very good, Tay said softly. You moved carefully and stayed calm. That is important. Clara smiled, feeling proud of herself. I think I'm learning, she whispered. It feels amazing. They watched the deer for a while, noting the patterns in their movements and how they reacted to sounds. Clara realized that Tay's lessons were more than survival skills. They were lessons in patience, observation, and respect for the world. As they turned to head back, a sudden noise startled them. A small herd of horses had gotten loose from a nearby ranch. They thundered down the path toward the river, kicking up dust and scattering birds into the sky. Clara froze, unsure what to do. Her heart raced. Tay stepped forward calmly. Stay close to me, he said. Move slowly to the side and keep your balance. Clara followed, trusting his guidance. The horses galloped past, close enough that she could feel the vibration of their hooves in the ground. One of them neighed loudly, and Clara instinctively flinched, but Tay's hand rested gently on her shoulder, steadying her. When the herd had passed, Clara let out a shaky laugh. That was terrifying, Tay chuckled softly. And you handled it well. Fear is natural, but you kept your wits about you. That shows courage. Clara looked at him, her cheeks flushing. I didn't feel very brave. You were, he said simply. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward even when you're afraid. The rest of the afternoon passed in a mixture of learning and small adventures. Tay taught Clara how to identify animal tracks more precisely and how to recognize safe spots near the river. They explored a nearby canyon, observing the patterns of birds and small wildlife. Clara was amazed at how much she could notice when she slowed down and paid attention. At one point, they came to a narrow path along the edge of a small cliff. Clara hesitated, gripping her hat tightly. It's steep, she whispered, her knees trembling slightly. Tay smiled gently. We'll take it slow. One step at a time. You can do this. Carefully, he guided her along the path, his hand lightly brushing hers when she wavered. Clara realized that his confidence made her feel safe, even when she felt scared. Step by step, they made it across, and when they reached solid ground again, Clara laughed with relief. You were right, she said, still catching her breath. It feels so much better when someone is there with you. Exactly, Tay replied. We all need support sometimes. That doesn't make us weak. It makes us stronger. As they walked back toward town, the sun began to sink behind the mountains, casting long shadows across the landscape. Clara felt a quiet happiness settle in her chest. She realized that today had not just been about tracking deer. It had been about discovering her own courage and learning to trust herself, guided by someone patient and kind. Back in town, the streets were calmer now, and the evening light turned the buildings a warm, soft hue. Clara and Tay paused near the river bank, watching the water reflect the colors of the sky. You did well today, Tay said, his voice soft. I'm impressed by your focus and determination. Clara smiled shyly. I couldn't have done it without your guidance. Tay's dark eyes met hers. You could. You just needed a little help to see it. Remember, you have strength inside you that you might not notice yet. For a few moments they stood quietly, enjoying the peace of the evening. Clara felt a growing sense of trust and admiration for Tay, and she sensed that he felt the same for her. Their connection had deepened through shared experiences and the gentle challenges of the day. Finally, Tay spoke. Tomorrow, I can show you some of the skills used to read the stars. That way you can find your way even at night. Clara's eyes lit up. I'd love that. I want to learn everything you can teach me. Tay smiled. We'll take it one lesson at a time. Life is easier when we don't rush. As he turned to leave, Clara felt a soft, bittersweet pang. She had grown fond of him in just a few days, and she knew she would look forward to every moment they spent together. Watching him walk away, she realized that trust and friendship could be as exciting and rewarding as any adventure. That night, as Clara lay in bed, she thought about the day. She remembered the deer, the loose horses, and the narrow path along the cliff. She remembered the way Taya had guided her, his calm voice and patient hands. And she thought about herself, about the courage she had discovered within her own heart. A gentle smile spread across her face. She realized that being brave did not mean being fearless. It meant taking steps forward, even when the world felt uncertain. And with Tay by her side, she felt that there was no limit to what she could face. The stars began to appear outside her window, tiny points of light scattered across the deep blue sky. Clara thought of Tay's promise to teach her how to read them. She imagined the quiet nights they would spend together, learning, exploring, and sharing stories. A warm sense of hope filled her chest. For the first time, Clara felt certain that her life in Red Rock would be more than just a new start. It would be a life of learning, adventure, and gentle companionship, and she could not wait to see what the next day would bring. With that thought, Clara drifted into a peaceful sleep, dreaming of rivers, wildflowers, and the quiet, steady presence of Tay, the man who had shown her courage, patience, and the gentle beauty of taking life slowly. The morning air in Red Rock was crisp and quiet, the kind of morning that made the world feel still and full of possibilities. Clara woke with a feeling of excitement she had never known before. Today, Tay had promised to teach her how to read the stars, a skill that fascinated her. She dressed quickly and made her way to the riverbank, her heart light with anticipation. Tay was already there, leaning against a tree with the soft glow of dawn behind him. His calm, steady presence brought a sense of peace to Clara, as if the world were right where it should be. "Good morning, Clara," he said, smiling gently. "Are you ready to learn about the stars?" Clara nodded eagerly.
Yes.
They walked together, to a small open meadow near the river, where the view of the sky was clear and uninterrupted. Tay stopped in the center of the meadow and looked up. The sun had just risen enough to paint the horizon in soft shades of pink and gold. "Look," Tay said, pointing to a faint line of early stars still visible in the light. "Even when the day begins, the stars leave traces of their presence. They teach us about direction, time, and patience. If we learn to notice, we can find our way in the world even when it seems dark or uncertain." Clara listened intently, fascinated by the simplicity and beauty of his words. She followed his instructions carefully, noticing patterns in the sky, learning to identify constellations, and tracing their paths. Each new discovery felt like a small triumph, and she felt a quiet pride swelling in her chest. "You are learning quickly," Tay said softly. "It is easy to notice what others miss when you pay attention. And you have a sharp mind, Clara." Clara blushed, but her smile was genuine. "I'm trying," she admitted. "It feels wonderful to finally understand something so big and beautiful." They spent the morning moving from constellation to constellation, Taya explaining the stories behind each one, the history passed down by his ancestors, and the lessons hidden in the sky. Clara felt as if she were connecting not only with the stars, but with Tay's world and his experiences. As the sun climbed higher, they sat on a large, flat rock, taking a break from their lesson. Tay pulled out a small bundle of bread and cheese, and they shared it quietly, enjoying the warm breeze and the peaceful sounds of nature. "You have come a long way since your first day in Red Rock," Tay said after a moment. "I have seen your courage, your curiosity, and your kindness. You are growing stronger every day." Clara looked at him, her chest swelling with warmth. "And you have taught me so much. I never knew life could feel so calm, even with excitement all around. You make everything seem easier and safer, Tay." He nodded, his dark eyes soft with understanding. "That is because we can face challenges together, and because we move slowly, learning each step. There is no need to rush anything important in life." The day passed with more quiet lessons and gentle exploration. They discovered small flowers along the riverbank, identified the calls of birds, and practiced walking quietly through the grass without disturbing the wildlife. Each moment built trust, patience, and a deepening bond. As evening approached, the sky began to change. The golden light faded, leaving streaks of orange, purple, and soft blue. Clara and Tay stopped at the edge of the meadow, the river reflecting the colors of the sky. Clara felt a nervous flutter in her chest. She had spent so much time with Tay over the past days, learning, exploring, laughing, and sometimes feeling scared. and yet always safe. She realized that her feelings had grown quietly, steadily, into something special, something she could not yet name. Tay seemed to sense her thoughts. He turned to her with a gentle smile. "The stars are coming out now," he said softly. "We will look at them together, as I promised." Clara nodded, her hands gripping her satchel for courage. They sat together on a flat rock, shoulders almost touching. The first stars appeared, tiny points of light scattered across the darkening sky. Taya began pointing them out, explaining their positions and stories, and Clara followed his directions. Her mind focused, yet her heart was aware of the closeness beside her. After some time, the stars became clearer, more numerous, and the sky seemed endless. Clara felt a quiet awe and a peaceful happiness. She glanced at Tay, noticing the calm strength in his gaze and the gentle patience in his movements. Finally, she spoke, her voice soft. "Ty, I want to thank you for everything, for showing me courage, patience, and all the things I didn't know I could do." Tay's expression softened. He reached out slowly, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. "Clara, you have done this yourself. The bravery, the curiosity, the kindness, they are all yours." Her heart fluttered. She felt an almost magnetic pull toward him, yet she remembered her own words from long ago. "I've never been kissed." She swallowed nervously, unsure how to express her feelings. Tay seemed to sense her hesitation. He leaned in slightly, close enough that she could feel his presence, but not so close as to rush anything. His voice was gentle, quiet, and warm. "Clara," he said, "there is no need to hurry. We will take things slowly. But if you are ready," Clara felt a mixture of anticipation, nervousness, and trust. She nodded slightly, her hands trembling a little.
I am ready," she whispered.
Tay smiled, his hand brushing hers gently, and leaned in just enough to let their foreheads touch for a moment. It was a small, tender gesture, a promise of trust and care. Then, slowly and gently, he pressed his lips to hers in a soft, careful kiss. It was sweet, calm, and deliberate, the kind of kiss that spoke of respect, patience, and the beginning of something meaningful. Clara's heart swelled with happiness. She closed her eyes and leaned into the moment, feeling the warmth of trust and companionship. When they pulled back slightly, they smiled at each other, sharing a quiet laugh at the wonder of the day and the beauty of their connection. For a few minutes, they sat together in silence, enjoying the comfort of being near each other and the soft sounds of the river. Clara felt a deep sense of belonging, not just in Red Rock, but beside Tay. She realized that this gentle, slow beginning was exactly what she had wanted, even if she hadn't known it before. Finally, Tay spoke. "We should head back. The night is falling, and the town is waiting." Clara nodded, her hand brushing against his as they stood. They walked back toward Red Rock side by side, the sky above filled with stars and the river glowing softly beside them. Every step felt lighter, every moment more joyful. When they reached the edge of town, Clara turned to Tay, her eyes bright with emotion. "Thank you for today, for everything," she said. Tay smiled warmly. "It is only the beginning, Clara. Tomorrow will bring new lessons, new discoveries, and more moments to share." Clara nodded, feeling a warmth in her chest that made her smile softly. She watched him walk toward the outskirts of town, his figure calm and steady under the starlit sky. She knew that the days ahead would be full of learning, adventure, and gentle companionship. That night, as Clara lay in bed, she thought of the stars, the river, the wildflowers, and the quiet strength of Taye. She remembered the lessons, the laughter, and the first gentle kiss. The beginning of a bond built on patience, trust, and understanding. A deep sense of contentment filled her chest. For the first time, Clara felt that her life in Red Rock was not just a new start, but a place where courage, curiosity, and care could flourish. She realized that slow, steady beginnings often led to the strongest and most beautiful connections. And as she drifted into sleep, Clara dreamed of the endless sky, the river's gentle flow, and the soft, steady presence of Tay, the man who had taught her about the world, about courage, and about the beauty of taking life slowly, one step at a time.